Hello.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Got a few people in as we're trickling in. I know we're a lot way earlier than we normally are on a Wednesday evening for a live, so we do really appreciate you guys being in here and
I
hope
do.
you enjoy this.
Um, sorry. I wanted to point out something that's funny. I don't know if this is just my head or what, but I kind of find it funny. It's like shoving it in our faces. They say more families lost faith in the American dream in the last 5 years. Then you look literally to the right, and everything's in the green. So it's kind of like I don't know if that's how I'm perceiving it or what, but
Well, it's funny because this article came out November of last year, and here we are 5 months later, and look at the Dow. 33,000 was the future. So obviously, this was like before the market opened.
yeah.
And here it is 39,000 pick up.
It's
So
saying, oh, people have lost faith, but then look at how green everything is. I don't know. It's funny.
yeah, it's rather comical, but it makes it true because the more and more people I talk to, the more they just feel like they're kind of lost and walking in a soup of the American economy.
Yeah, that's a common talking point. I hear that a lot from people, even people my age. You'll hear it more from my generation, but yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you guys are new to the channel or you're catching this on a replay or after you get back home after work and everything, definitely really appreciate you guys joining in. If you hit that like and subscribe button, it really helps. Or follow us on Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter, or X now. Sounds weird calling it X. Just sounds really weird. But
I will
follow us
always call
there.
it Twitter.
Yeah, it's like it's been Twitter for 12 years, calling it Twitter. And give us a subscribe on YouTube. We're getting close to the 350 mark, so we're trying to get there. So help us out. And this segment, as always, we do the the discussion here. A lot is going to be real estate focused, but the discussion here really is um just gotta give me 1 second here. The discussion is really is about, is the American dream still possible? How do you guys feel about it? Because I've been watching a lot of videos from all people of all walks of life, from the tech industry, talking to people who are in trucking, who own their own business, who maybe maybe have a medium sized business, or they're watching their kids go through college. There's one lady on TikTok who goes through a lot of videos explaining how she doesn't understand how her kids are going to make it. And her kids are all working, they're all out of college, and they're having some rough times with paying rent. Some of them have just had kids, so now they have new expenses, and we're just watching the costs of everything go up. And I just looked at the insurance markets, and the cost of insuring childcare is going to be astronomical down the road. And this is not just for people paying for it, consumers. It's also for people who have businesses providing that service are going to have to raise their price because they're seeing increases in the insurance with SID, sudden infant death syndrome, illnesses, weird infections and stuff that are now affecting young children that their businesses now have to insure against. And not to mention, you got to have an umbrella policy, workers' comp, because what if you hire someone, because no one's checking for vaccines, and you hire someone nowadays, they don't have the vaccine for mumps or the measles, and you get it. There was I think it was in Texas, there was a young lady who was never vaccinated, and the child was carrying measles, and she got it. Now she's gravely ill, and that could be a workplace lawsuit. There's so much stuff that's going on, especially nowadays with you got so many people that went into the craft of being a lawyer. Now they're trying to fight to make money, and it's causing to bring more cases to the court system. So they're now talking about the insurances are going to just keep rising because they just didn't anticipate. No one anticipated that type of things, and now you got rent still still rising in some areas, but dropping in some others. The only break I think that's going to happen for the American dream is that with anyone who is a real estate agent, you might not be making as much money or might not be making any money at all in the next coming months as your commissions. I mean, you're talking like going from 48,000 to 16,000. And then you got to share that with your brokerage, your firm, the advertising, the lead source, and the other broker. And on top of that, the buyer's flipping the bill, not the seller this time. So I don't know how that's going to affect, but it's not like it's $50,000 like it was before. It is now it's now like 10 to 15, maybe $20,000. So if you're thinking about, you sell $1 million home now, instead of getting 60,000 to share between the two brokers and everything, you're getting 30,000. But the lead sources that you got your clients from are still priced the same. So do you see that, real estate agents are going to join this because a lot of people made their American dream through being a realtor. So we're definitely going to see that. But then we got Tyson, George's Chicken, Cargill, Simmons shutting down plants all over the place. And those were like $18, $20, $25 an hour, um, $25 an hour jobs. Like, it's crazy how much that people are missing. 18 to $25 an hour jobs. Now they can't live in their houses. They can't pay their mortgage. We have people who bought homes thinking they were going to have the American dream, and their mortgage is going up because the taxes are going up, the values went up, and the percentage is still the same. So now instead of that house being like 600,000, now it's like 900,000, and now you got to pay that mortgage. People's escrows are negative. They don't see how they're going to come out of it. People are getting upset and everything. Part of it's me thinking like a lot of young people, especially if it's your first home and you're in your 20s, you shouldn't have bought like a brand new construction. Because when I was growing up in the 90s and when I was Cody's age in the 2000s, it was if you were buying a new construction, most people knew that, okay, you were making a lot of money because it was considered expensive to buy a new construction. Most people bought an existing house. Shout out to Crypto Dream. Welcome in, buddy. Talking about our favorite Wednesday topic, the American Dream. So, Crypto Dream, if you want to hop on and give your share, you're more than welcome to. This is kind of an open discussion. So, if you feel you want to come in, though, I posted a link in the chat. If you don't, post your question or your opinion in the chat, and I'll definitely try to answer it for you guys. So, thank you, Crypto Dream, for also posting something in the chat. I think can't quite view it here. Let me see if I could bring it up a bigger. Oh, open in browser. There we go. So, Crypto Dream has given us something that kind of helps, so we'll kind of post that over shortly. Let me see if I can just mix that over here. There we go. All right, that makes sense. Oops. I think Cody bounced out there. Yep.
Sorry about that. I was reading what Crypto Dream sent to Discord, and it just burnt me off. He said something about IBM, how the world is going to be viewed in 2030, and it was quite interesting, actually, to look at. It's a visual.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share that tab here.
Affordable robotics for everyday, business, stuff like that. 86% digital surveillance is everywhere. 80%, yeah. 78% AI predicts and controls personal and work lives of significant part of a population. Yeah. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
No, I was saying it's just interesting how much people are planning is going to affect other people's lives
Yeah.
and everything. And there's a lot. I mean, you have AI replacing quite a few jobs. I don't think it's not going to replace jobs as quickly right now, but menial jobs like a cashier position here and there, an assistant position, you know, payroll clerk positions, payroll processing companies, like all of that it could all change, right? But if you're looking like the next 20 years, you're looking at manufacturing jobs getting more efficient. Like automation has become automized, and now it's becoming self automized as we go. Like it's the automation is now pretty much becoming itself as it as it keeps creating things that make it easier for it to do its own things, and it's just naturally occurring. And unfortunately, people's it is wiping out people's opportunities.
Man, we need to have a larger audience because what we talk about is like crazy on that.
Oh, hey, no, well, we hope you guys can hop on in and join in because this is open discussion. It is 3:30 ish, so a lot of people are still at work, or maybe they're just getting home, taking care of the kids, or they're getting ready to go in for like a late second shift or night shift. So you know, I like talking about it, and if you guys could catch the replay, hey, it's just part of what we want to do. But this is something I just feel like I have to talk about it and put it out there because there's very few opportunities left that are pretty much resistant to this AI change. Uh, Shout out to Crypto Dreamer. I just wonder why I keep hearing 2030. Yeah, everyone's thinking like 2030 is like the benchmark for everything getting everything getting replaced, everything changing, everything becoming different. So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting to see how things are progressing from an investment standpoint. Tremendous opportunity, but it's not a tremendous opportunity if you're one of the ones who's kind of being pushed around and eventually pushed out. But at the same time, we're also experiencing a lower birth rate. Gen Z and younger millennials and even millennials, like even my parents' generation, people were having less kids. Like most people had 1 to 2 kids, and then millennials and Gen Z are a lot of them are not even having kids, and that's less people participating in the economy, which is going to cause a weird shift because now we got a crap ton of dollars in circulation and we're reducing in population. So that means that money's going to funnel somewhere, the excess money. And it's either going to go to corporations, in somebody's pocket, or it might go to the middle class. However, what I think they should bring back, which is what they made legal again during the Reagan era, was stock buybacks. What they should do is make stock buybacks illegal again, which forces companies to only do really two things: put money into pensions or put money into employees' pockets as profit sharing or raises or things like that. That would probably fix a lot of the issues because what they're doing is playing this cycle.
Really?
Yeah, they're playing businesses are playing this cycle. Big corporations, not like your regional company. We're talking like the Fortune 500 companies are basically going. They went public. Their value increases. They do a stock split, and then over the next 10 years, they just buy back the stock and remove it. So basically, if you have a lot of stock, you're just holding it. You're not selling it, and you're not selling it to them. So they can only buy the stocks that are selling, which is of course the middle class, because every time someone retires or moves into the next stage of their life or passes away, those shares get liquidated. And the most common people to liquidate are the middle class. Like someone who's in the top 1% is not really going to liquidate their Coca-Cola position because they need to fix something. It's just there. So it gets bigger, they get a bigger percentage over time, and they just slowly take up more ownership, and there's less shares in circulation, which means the price and values go up, which means they can use those same shares to collateralize new debts with zero interest or paying zero taxes on the money that they're spending. And unfortunately, it hurts because the people who are selling are pension funds, the middle class, people like you and Crypto Dream who have individual accounts that maybe putting money into it slowly and then they have to exit out for an emergency, or they're just cashing out because life has changed. You guys are moving on to the next stage of life. I think if that went back to being illegal to do for companies, it would make it wouldn't fix everything, but it would fix the opportunities in the stock market. And what that would mean is if you issue 80 million shares, then you're always going to have 80 million shares out there. So it makes it very hard for companies you actually have to really build value in the company
And
for the
that's
value of the stock to raise in that scenario.
why we like Bitcoin, because there's always going to be 21 million.
Yeah, there's a set of this, and Cody is right. It's part of the reason why cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, is very likable and it has a huge following of Bitcoin maxis because it has a set limit and nobody can change that limit.
As well as QNT.
Yes. And it gives a sense of value back in the hands of the middle class, but at this point it's still mainly big institutions that are buying it. And everything like the middle class has kind of already been cut out of participating in Bitcoin. So that's why the altcoins and meme coins have such an allure
Potential, yeah.
to the average investor because and the middle class because it's like I can't participate in it, but this might have the same run up as Bitcoin, so I'm going to get into it, and that's why people are getting into it. That's why
Yeah.
Solana had its run ups too.
Man, I was just having a conversation with a guy, this big Solana guy. We were talking about Solana and Chainlink, and we were pretty much in it wasn't like a heated argument, but we were kind of like in a disagreement about it. And
Hmm.
I was like, look, like Sol was good for its own things, but when it comes to Chainlink, Chainlink is going to be the one that brings tokenization to the space. I'm not talking about, oh, Chainlink's being the best crypto, or I'm not talking about Chainlink being better than this, Chainlink being better than that. No, I'm talking about when it comes to tokenization, which is what Larry Fink, BlackRock CEO, is huge on. Especially the fact that Chainlink is enabling $10 trillion, not bringing in, but enabling $10 trillion to come in due to CCIP being accessible by institutions and large, and Citibank, a bunch of others. They're already using CCIP. They're literally experimenting on it right now. Like you can see transaction scans on CCIP with them experimenting with it. And that's why I talk about Chainlink so much, because when it comes to the tokenization narrative, Chainlink is the first mover in that.
Yeah, and it presents a wonderful opportunity for for people to get involved in this in the project, and it's still cheap enough that it should that allows for people to participate. I'm sorry, Cody. I think your mic.
Think about where that.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Basically what I was saying, trillion is going to come from. It's like, you know, for vehicles having and stuff like that. People thought, with NFT that is the CCIP and just token in general.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good point too. I mean, the tokenization of real world assets, but also kind of brings like a thought to mind for me that crypto is probably the last Hail Mary that Gen Z and millennials have for obtaining the American dream, or at least that might be how they think. being able to get it, because a lot of them feel like you can't go get a 9 to 5, raise a family, and achieve the American dream. You definitely can't do it on one person's income anymore. And we're now seeing like that's a luxury to have. It's because it's like you're looking at needing to make like $200,000 a year for one person after taxes to be able to cover a family of 2 or 3 kids, house in a middle class area, 2 cars, and not be stressed about finances. And some people are saying even more, maybe even like getting a 500 or like $600,000 income, but that's just like those are far in between. I guess my thought is like if you could still probably get the American dream and still have it be obtainable, but you're probably gonna have to live more frugally than you expect, and you might have to cut out comparing your life to social media and all those people posting, because that is having a negative influx. That is having a negative influx on what we're having. But to kind of come back to crypto dreams, like the number 2020, the year 20 or 2030, uh, is because that kind of correlates to like if history repeats itself and not really repeats it but rhymes with itself. 2029 and 2030 are kind of some big years. So we should have like this real huge boom from this year to 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28 years. And then 29th and 30th might be the real tough years. And we're having such a huge swing in the economy and the shift of where people are spending, where people are working, where people are going. I could tell you right now, like a lot of the small towns across everywhere, like whether it's north, the south, east, west, it doesn't matter. Those people are leaving those towns and going to big hubs and places like Dallas, New York City, Philadelphia, Austin, Houston. Still, people are clamoring into LA, Las Vegas. They're becoming these huge hubs. So it's like the concept, like what we had 20 or maybe it was 30 years ago with like Escape from New York, or like Judge Dredd, those movies where you kind of society was like locked into mega cities. That might be the case. But we also are moving away from factory farming, and we're doing like hydroponics is becoming a thing. And instead of spreading out over thousands of acres, you get a few acres and you stack up. We're trying to find there are companies out there trying to find alternative fuel sources. There's our companies that are trying to find um, better solutions to trying to prevent what's going on. You know, I we're getting a lot of people that are trying to move out, like especially a lot of elderly people moving out from the middle of nowhere to get to closer to cities of interest. And the biggest thing is that they're flabbergasted by how much money they have to spend. And it's to me, it's just I don't know how much longer that could keep up. Eventually, something has to break. We might have that break this summer with the real estate agents not gouging people out of the sales and transactions of their homes as much, especially since we're going down to 2%. We're going from 6% to 2% interest, or not interest, 2% commissions. I mean, you have to the before the buyer had to cover that, and it's just crazy. I've got Cody back in here.
So sorry. I was outside while we were on stream and my phone died. I plugged it into a fast charger. Now we good.
Okay, good to hear. But we're glad to have you back with us. So I mean, I see more people coming in. So if you don't want to hop on and share your thoughts, you don't have to be on screen. You could just be mic only if you'd like, but or just put it in the chat. Or I'm watching Twitter, so you can put it on the comments there. what your thoughts or anything that you have on the American dream. So let me just make sure I'm not missing anybody.
Nope. Sorry. Yeah, it's. I guess it's Restream. I like Restream, but I switched from Wi-Fi to cellular because my Wi-Fi was lagging for some reason,
Hmm.
and it did that. That's the only thing I hate about Restream. How somebody has to click me back in.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Got it. So I'm just making sure I'm not missing anybody. We got try to make sure I get everybody's comments and everything. So, but like like we said, it's like the American dream is the more the more young people I talk to, it's just unachievable. The more the more I talk to older people, it's young people being lazy. And the more you look back at it through history, it's kind of like we're kind of like in this like generational cycle where the young generation feels like the American dream is not possible. And there are articles from when I was in college about people thinking the American dream is dead. There, 20 years ago, even before that, before World War One and Two, back in the 1800s, it just seems like repeat itself all the time.
And that's how
But the
history
one,
repeats.
yeah, it repeats, and if not, it definitely rhymes with
I
itself.
was just about to say that it rhymes.
But it seems like a lot of it also too is part of it is that in the last 50 years we really haven't had we have conflicts, we had scuffles, but we really haven't had like a major war. Like there wasn't a draft, there wasn't anything like existential to our survival happening. It was just life as normal. So maybe my age group and down got used to, hey, this is a pretty easy life, like nothing to worry about. And maybe that just subconsciously made people more lax, more, you know, thinking everything's easy. But also, the more I keep thinking about it, is that the last 15 years has been an unprecedented boon, and not just a boon for business and the economy, but a boon for like scamming, thievery, all that stuff. Because there's been more Ponzi schemes, real estate schemes, scams going on, banking fraud in the last 15 years than there ever has been in the last 100 years. So it's just kind of interesting. And but now we're getting to the point where businesses are closing down in the cities or in the low income areas. We're kind of starving out people. We had Walmart kind of opening up the neighborhood markets in towns, closing them down, putting the local businesses out of business, and then leaving, and then causing a food desert. Like we legitimately have food deserts in the United States, which we really shouldn't have. I can't tell you how many times we were out on the road for a move or going someplace for a delivery or something, and we have to wait maybe like an hour or two as we're driving because there's no gas station, there's no restaurant, there's no even convenience store sometimes that you can't even just get a simple drink. So I can only imagine if you're living out there, you have to drive all the way town, spend a lot of money on gas, spend a lot of money on your vehicle, and then buy as much as you can carry and bring it back. So and the last couple months, I kind of because we were doing a lot of moves out in the country, that kind of made a light bulb go in my head as to why we always had people when we were moving and they had way too heavy boxes. It was all canned goods. Because if you move someone in the city limits, they don't have canned goods. Like they have very little kitchen stuff. And then when we go out to the country, they have like tons of boxes of foodstuffs. So uh, it's like I don't know what to say with what's happening because it's just a weird thing. It's like
Speaking
everything
of
on paper
2030,
is looking good. I'm sorry.
people have talked about people have been planning for 2030 for a long time, and I remember seeing a lot of stuff and hearing a lot of stuff talking about mainly 2030 especially will bring in more city living than country living or like rural areas Like I've been seeing that a lot. There's going to be more people, like they're pretty much bringing more people to the city because of changes and stuff like that. People call it Agenda 2030, and you know, I don't fully dive into that, but at the same time, I hear a lot about it. So sometimes I read about it.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of it, but it kind of pops its head up here and there. But Gen Z likes living in cities and likes like I know somebody that prefers to instead of owning a house, they like to own a condo, like a flat in New York City or Chicago, wherever, because they don't want to have a car. They just want to walk everywhere. But there's also some downsides to that with your you're kind of in a concrete jungle. There's not a lot of foliage. You don't get grass. And there was a study done by somebody out there saying that as people, we really need to put our bare feet to grass. It kind of like centers us in a way. But it's also everything has become so commoditized as society has gone. I mean, we've commoditized things that if we were to go back 80 years, they would have never thought would be an opportunity for business, such as daycare, uh, for baby formula. What's another? There's another good one on there. Not just daycare, but babysitting. It used to be, most it's a friend, like the teenager of a family friend or relative would watch the kids so that the parents could have a break, or the grandparents would take the kids and so break. But now it's like everybody kind of scattered to the winds. So if you're a young couple, grandparents aren't in the same city. Grandparents are like 500 miles away. So now you have to hire a babysitter to take care of your kids if you just want a break so you can go out. Or you have to make really good friendships. But at the same time, Gen Z and younger millennials, because of social media and not having as much interaction or much need to interact individually, they have lost the ability to network and even know their neighbors. Because if you talk to most of them, they're like, I never see my neighbor. But when I got my first apartment, I knew all my neighbors until even down the road, it's like you just greet your neighbor, talk to someone. Even after waiting in line, you knew that you would just have small talk with the person in front of you and behind you about just things going on, or the day, or the events in town, things like that. Shout out to Crypto Dream. You think there will be a housing crash due to the institutions will be the only one to benefit, or some of us? That's a good question. If the Because how investing works is how the institutions work. They can only make money if they have someone to pass off that profit to that has to buy it from them. But if the average middle class can't buy their house, then it's going into foreclosure and the short sale market. So if someone's looking and has the money, you might be able to buy a house cash or get a short-term loan to snap it off the market quickly and then refinance it into a mortgage. Because I can see now, cuz I mean up in our area, in Cody and our my area, up in, I believe it's like the outskirts of Bentonville, there's like a developer just building these mansions. I mean, they're buying up, like, it looks like 4-acre plots, and then they're putting a huge house on there, but they're empty. And it's like,
I've
they
seen
were,
that. I've seen that actually.
yeah, and they were built with the mind that they were going to sell it for a profit, hold it and sell it, and they're owned by a institution, an investment firm. So they're built with the idea that they're going to rent to some upper level executive at Walmart, Target, or whomever's in that Rogers area. But I don't think that's going to happen because, like, those type of people don't really rent, especially if your office is here. They probably own their house here, and no one's really gonna rent like a 7,000 square foot house here. I could, if you're building it in Miami, it would make sense. But here it doesn't make sense. And they're just sitting empty. And they just keep building them. And they're still empty.
I
And
guess
what's
it's the idea of Walmart people and a bunch of money is moving down here, which is true. You know, I see a lot of Texans and a bunch of people move down here all the time. But I guess it came from that idea of just that it's a growing area and BHS, the school district, and stuff like that. I guess that's part of the reasons why we have that as well, because the profit off of families moving here. That's just what I think.
yeah, I mean, that's it. As a business wise, it's a good decision if the economy was like doing really well, but the economy's kind of doing well on paper, but not everyone's participating in it right now. Shout out to Crypto Dream. Yeah, we're on Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter, as well as and just YouTube, just those four platforms right now. Yeah, if you guys want to just share the link for the live or the YouTube link on your Twitter or Twitch or Facebook, we appreciate it so very much. And we really appreciate your guys' support because this is a conversation. Like the more people we get in and share their thoughts, the more we can kind of have a good dialogue with it. Um,
It's that diverse communication. We have a lot of
exactly.
different opinions. You know, it's good to have because different viewpoints can, you know, form an opinion if you have a bunch of other different viewpoints and you choose from which one.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you disagree, just remember we're not attacking the person. We're attacking the argument, not the person. So if you disagree with what we're saying, come on, give your points and tell me why. Or maybe you think you want to have a doomer explanation. Come on in and give it. Um, but we are live on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, so you can share those links. I don't know if I can let me see if I could put the Facebook link up for you guys. See if I can get that up there. Just bear with me here. Yep, here it is. So I can post that in the chat for you guys. You guys want to also go ahead and like that page too. We're kind of live on that page, on our Facebook page as well. But like I said, people it's just a weird economy because we have very low unemployment, but
Which is not good.
we have a lot of service industry openings, and which low unemployment doesn't denote a good economy because during the best economy that America had in a long time was
It's
the
around
90s.
7 to 8% unemployment, maybe even
Yeah,
higher.
it was somewhere between 6 and 8% unemployment. But and they had higher interest rates than we had now.
Yeah,
But we did have less money in circulation then.
exactly. So it kind of like offsets it.
Exactly. Let me see. Okay. I do see thank you guys. I do see that we are starting to get some shares in there. So really, really appreciate that.
Oh
But
yeah, I'm seeing it.
but like I said, and then going back to those properties, like the luxury properties are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Maybe I could pull it up for you guys on Zillow so I could show you guys what we're talking about. I
That the
remember,
other day, actually, when we did that live and you were showing like homes on Zillow, that one for 209,000. Now it probably needs work done on it, but it's actually not bad for a single guy like me. Like if I had the money, I would buy that. And it's not about. It's a good starter home, you know. Especially looking at starter homes too. I mean, we all know that those are expensive as well, but you know, just getting an idea that when when you're young, especially young like me, if you're in the market, it's good to buy those starter homes.
Yeah, I can't seem to find. Maybe they're not. I gotta find the pinpoint here. But yeah, here's one of them, right? And this one's on a small lot. This one was built 2 years ago, and I mean, look at the size of it. You're talking almost 7,000 square feet. Never seen these prices, and never seen these prices in this area. But it's crazy to see because like like these houses never existed before. But I'm really trying to find that area because I don't think those houses are listed for sale. Okay, I think I might have found where they are. I don't want to. Let me just go back and share this because I don't want to reveal people's private addresses. Um, unless of course you're posting it for sale. But man, I don't think it's not that deep. I think it's up here. Gotta find that road I'm looking at. Oh, here's another one. This one's right in that gated community. Cody, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, that
Let me
gated community.
Yeah, this one is still being built.
Oh wow. That is really modern looking as well.
Hmm.
That's what a lot of young folks, are going for nowadays, especially the ones who are in the market and have the capital. They want. I've seen it too. I've seen modern looking homes in my area. Like they're kind of glassy. They got that vibrant like that look. I can't. It looks wood, but at the same time, it's got that vibrant look to it. That's what a lot of modern homes have nowadays.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to illustrate is that this is this was the American dream. Like when I was growing up as a kid, this was our American dream. And what it was, work hard, get a good job, or make a lot of money. We weren't even thinking about owning a business. It was just make a lot of money and be able to get a house like this and take care of your family, your kids, and stuff like that. But I think our American dream has become something has been perversed in a way because now it's like it's become something that's not attainable for 99% of people. Even if you get a net worth of 10 or 12 million, you're never going to be able to afford that lifestyle. Because it seems like over the last 10 years, what influencers and these gurus have been pushing has been really what has been termed always as a Rockefeller lifestyle. And, back in the baby boomers generation, it was, only the Rockefellers can live a Rockefeller life. And that is the absurd amount of spending, and you see it in Gen Z. It's coming through in Gen Z as they are now in the age group that has had credit cards for the last 5 years. They are running 40, 60, 80, $100,000 credit card debts. That's astronomical. That's impossible to pay back. And I was young like Cody, and I had at one point like 15,000 in credit card debt, and it was hard to overcome. I can only imagine a
Oh
hundred
yeah,
thousand.
especially with interest, especially with that interest, like it keeps adding on, and not only that, if you want to talk about paying minimum payment, like with interest, you have to pay over the minimum payment. I mean, you really shouldn't be paying minimum payment anyway, but with that interest, when it occurs and accumulates, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't imagine, you have 100,000 in credit card debt, you have 50,000 on your car, and then you have maybe another 50 to 100,000 of student loan debt. Like most people, that was a mortgage. That's 250,000. That's a mortgage, and it took them 30 years with an average income to get that paid off. And here we are, you don't even have a house and you already have a house income.
Yeah.
So let me go through and see here. I'm gonna change the pricing here on this and kind of show you guys like you don't have to have that lifestyle. Like there's plenty of houses.
The main focus, especially for a lot of people my age group, really should be just financial freedom, not in terms of like that specific lifestyle, especially the Rockefeller lifestyle, but even me, like I'm taking a lot of risk right now at 23. I mean, I have a lot of risk tolerance, but eventually as time goes on, like I will see my net worth increase, especially if I keep on, dollar cost averaging or like from dividends, compounding dividends. That's going to happen over time. But what my point is like as my net worth increases, at least talking about myself and what I would plan for myself, I would never plan for that lifestyle. Like, for example, if I had 3 million in liquidity, I would park 1 million in liquidity into an asset that pays me 10% APY. You're talking $100,000 a year just off of 1 million invested, and that's something I would really do. You're making 100,000 a year, and that's not even punching on a time clock. That's just off your million 10% APY accumulating.
And there are high net worth programs that when you hit that point, you get out of regular banking and you go to the private high net worth banking sector, and they can give you those things because you're kind of lending money to banks to make that type of money, or you're putting it into different investment pools that can help garnish that. Shout out to Crypto Dream. My coworker is stressed, being jobless, laid off, and he has no debt. I told him not to get, I guess, not to get any. Zero debt is a huge accomplishment. Again, not to get down. Okay, yeah, zero debt is an accomplishment because if you get laid off and you have no debts and all you have is your rent and your utilities, you're probably in a really good position because that means you can go work at a temporary job for less than what you are really worth to be paid to stay afloat. And then when you get that good job, you just kind of go back in. But that's also a point that, the layoffs are hitting, and they're hitting in areas that are not expected. You guys got to make sure that you have your reserve fund
Oh,
set
it's
aside.
especially hitting those useless positions. Those high paid like tech positions. I'm not saying a lot of like positions in the tech sector are useless. That's a huge industry, but I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about? Like those high profile social media management that really they're not going hard on the marketing or they're not doing much, but they're getting paid like 100 grand a year. Those sectors will be affected as well.
Yes, but it's also like you guys got to remember this is a conversation that executive management is having. They might have they're coming in and say, okay, we got 30 IT workers working on this one thing. Can we get by with two? And people
Yeah.
say, yeah, yeah, well, it could be tough. Maybe three. Okay, yeah, three should be fine. And it's okay. Lay off 47, keep the three best performers. That's what they're doing. And
Yes.
then this is where like Dave Ramsey, shout out to his channel. I mean, he doesn't need a shout out, but Dave Ramsey and a lot of people like Dave Ramsey are saying, get into work early, try not to call out, take extra shifts. A lot of Gen Zers and millennials were dogging him and saying he doesn't understand. He's too old. He's a boomer. But when the layoffs start hitting, they are not going to lay off the person that's coming in early, leaving late, getting stuff done, taking over projects for everyone else. That's the person that these people are going to keep because I was in that position for a Fortune 500 company. And the conversation, it's like, who am I going to pick? I'm going to pick the person that's always showing up on time, always going the extra effort, always going the extra mile, always going the distance, and never missing work. That's the person that would stay. The person who keeps calling out, who's not consistent, who's taking a lot of vacations. I hate to say it, but that's the person we kick out because it makes if you're going from 50 people to 3 people, that's the type of decisions you gotta make.
Yeah, especially with Fortune 500 companies, they are looking for the best performance with the lowest crew. They would rather have two to five of the best ones than 100 of you know. And that's just where we're going. That's where, even in lower sector jobs, you'll see that too. Like, you'll see a lot of skeleton crews and stuff like that. So yeah, that is kind of where we're going, especially in the tech industry. And a lot of people, like, I'm seeing it in Web3, not that specifically in Web3, but I'm seeing a lot of like positions in Web3 that actually are paying well. I mean, Chainlink Labs, like, a lot of Chainlink Labs positions, they offer $200,000 to $300,000 a year. And that's interesting that Chainlink is, actually paying that for good tech people, two, three
Exactly.
hundred thousand dollars a year, and that's at Chainlink Labs. And I hold a lot of Chainlink.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's still opportunity. There always will be opportunity. And in this chaos, if you're in your career, you're working corporate America, you have opportunity now to rise and shine and climb above. Shout out to Crypto Dream. I came early, stayed late, did as much of my boss's job as possible, laid off with the rest of them, but I might have an easier time being rehired if only I could be better in interviews. Yeah, trust me, interviewing's hard. I don't like interviewing, period, at all. I hate interviewing because it's breaking you down to like an asset number, especially nowadays that people are giving assessment tests. Well, it's like I don't like tests. Come in, we'll have a chat. We don't even do interviews here at our business here. It's you come in, you talk, we get to know you, we tell you about us, we tell you about what the position is going to be, how you're going to be a fit, what are some of your dreams, what are you looking to accomplish. Because not every person is coming to you as like trying to have a 40-year career. It's most likely going to be 2 to 3 years at the most. Some people don't even make it 6 months.
Yeah, and
You know?
there's been lots of talk over the years that, especially, my generation, we're like that. We, a lot of times, and that's kind of going into, when you were talking about what really used to happen. A lot of people, they'd have pension plans, they'd stay at a place for 40 years. That's
Mhm.
just not the motive anymore. And it's not anything to do with, oh, Gen Z this or this and that. It's just how the shift, especially with the economy, has gone.
Yes. And unfortunately, there's no incentives for companies to make a pension anymore. So we have to find a way to make it possible for companies to be kind of forced to go back to a pension. But I think if companies start offering a pension and start offering a future worth staying, I think Gen Z would stay. I
Yeah.
also think a 4 day. I also think a 4 day work week is quite feasibly possible. I
Do
mean, I
you?
did that at Wawa when I worked there. We'd work 4 10-hour shifts, and then we were done. The only problem with that is people still called out. So, whoever was ambitious enough, or like I was when I was younger, I would always just keep taking those extra shifts to get as much money as possible. But there's also things, there's part of the corporate charm effect that you need to have while you're at your job to help prevent being laid off too. Because there's people who can charm their way out of losing their job. There's people who can do a lot of things. And there's people who can charm their way into a job. They're just very good at interviewing, but they're crappy at the job.
Yep.
It sucks because it's like Crypto Dream is one of those guys who's really proficient at what he does, but he and this is just from my experience with talking to you, buddy. It's no hate to you, but you just seem more introverted. So you're you kind of have to be really extroverted, especially right now, to interview really well. And that's hard for if you're not an extrovert to do. It's just
They
hard.
say they're looking more for EQ than IQ, and like, nobody's discrediting that IQ matters, but right now, especially in Fortune 500 companies, EQ is the favorable trait to have, and that's something I'm even working on, as well, especially as I get my own life going, upping my EQ, talking to more people, networking. That's something I really, besides finance, besides what I want to do, as far as net worth wise and investing and all that. That's one avenue I really want to work on. EQ. It's like, it's an asset to have.
It is. It is, but the thing is though, um, with someone who's really good at emotional intelligence, they're not going to stick around in an emotionally toxic environment. They're
No.
just going to walk away. That's what I think a lot of companies don't understand is you can look for emotional intelligence all you want, but if they see a crapshoot, they're going to walk away.
Yeah.
So, and they're quicker to cut it off and walk away than someone who isn't emotionally intelligent because they'll try to work through it and think that performance will outdo it. Trust me, I'm that type. I think my performance will try to outwork my lack of emotional intelligence understanding. I just think if I put up good numbers, I'll stay. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Shout out to Crypto Dream. I asked why businesses don't give incentives for people being with the company for a long time. And he said businesses consider them bought in, they are comfortable with their job and don't have to bribe. Nah, I see where that person's coming from. And that's probably true because most people are like, oh, it's a complacency thought. Like, oh, this person's been with me. They're not going to leave. They're working hard. I don't, I don't have to give them anything. But it's also can the company can afford like a small company just starting up or you're within your first 10 years, I wouldn't expect you to try to aim for a pension. But if it's like a 50-year-old company and you're working hard and everything, there should be no reward process in there. That's why people like going to work for Wawa because the longer you stayed at Wawa, the bigger your employee ownership was. And the more you excel through the ranks, the more of a percentage you got. So even I, after leaving in 2.5 years, I got about $8,000 working for them. Like that was my employee share of ownership. So you can imagine the amount I was cut at the end when I left. So if I had stayed there for 50 or not 50, but 40 years from 22 to 62, I could have left with a couple $1,000,000 and that would have been a good retirement. That's why there were so many people who were like 15, 20, 30 years at that company. But I did see tech sector try to bring that, but they didn't really bring it. They only brought it in high salaries and job benefits. Like coming to work, there's a free cafeteria. You can relax. You can play ping pong. You can play pool. It's more of a relaxing environment. That that kind of reminds me of the young kids who got into the tech industry. But that's not what you want. What you want is I want a good healthcare. I want a pension plan. I want a good 401k match. That's why banking is still a sector people try to get into because banks, especially big banks, kind of match your 401k up to 8, 9, or sometimes 10% match. So that's a hell of a lot of money because most companies right now are only doing 1 to 2% match,
Yeah.
especially with and salaries constantly going up. But if you are a business owner, just remember, don't get too comfortable with someone that's working hard for you. Because if they're working hard and you're not rewarding them for that hard work, they might go seek employment elsewhere. Now, I'm not saying if you're in a tough spot financially or the cash flow is not there, don't go try to give them like a $10,000 bonus when you but try to reward in ways that will make it beneficial that people can be there. That's also why I like small knit crews because you only got 5, 6, or 7 people. Everybody gets to know each other. Everybody works with each other consistently, so they have a little bit better respect for each other. As like if you go work at Walmart, you got 200 people in that one store, and you have no idea who the night crew is. You just see them clock in as you're clocking out, or if you're working um second shift, you only know the day shift by them clocking out. Like that's just I think companies have forgotten. And if big companies like if Walmart said, "Hey, we're going to do a pension instead of a 401k," it would drastically change. And I think their stock would shoot up back up to $200-300 if they did that.
When did Walmart hit $200-300?
Um, that was really like maybe 7 years ago. It dropped back down to 100. Then we
So was
went up.
that the all-time high?
I think 250 was the all-time high. And I think because it was
250.
up there, then it dropped, then it went back up to 168, and then it had a stock split. Now it's back down to
I was
60.
just about to ask about a stock split.
Yeah, they had a 3-for-1 stock split. So now would be a good time to zap up shares of Walmart because when the economy is kind of questionable or going down, they're good stock to have because they're always going to make money off of the necessities.
I actually
However,
kind of like. Oh, I'm
no, go
sorry.
ahead, Cody.
I actually kind of like how Warren Buffett did with his Apple stock. Even though I'm heavy on like other assets, especially stocks and Bitcoin. It's like Apple's always throughout time been a good one to hold as well as Amazon. But those are where you would park larger amounts of liquidity, or at least in the S&P 500. I definitely do see myself buying into a lot of the S&P 500, especially from riskier assets as they build value. I definitely want to dip into the S&P 500 for long-term gains.
Um, Shout out to Crypto Dream. I wish I had a better understanding as of why Walmart sold some of their stock. Um, I think it was just it was just a good time to cash out some earnings at the top. Um, I think the executives started selling, and you also got to realize like the mid-level executives, a lot of them are just they're getting the stock as like a bonus or compensation, and so what they got to do is they got to sell it to cover the taxes on it. So like if you worked at Amazon, a lot of people, if you work long enough at Amazon, you'll start getting a share of Amazon a year, I think, or a couple shares a year, but they got to sell some of it to cover the taxes
Yes.
and withhold from you because it's income from an employer. So that's why it gets sold off. And when you're giving stock to probably 100,000 people, it comes off as Walmart selling shares, but it's really just covering the taxes. But what I think they're doing is they're trying to put shares in circulation so the value stays consistent, and it's probably someone is buying those shares and building their position. But you never know. It's like it's all speculation. That'd be my best guess, but is that if it's there's someone gathering a bigger position while maintaining price, also people who got stock as compensation, not just workers, but 1099 employees, probably are liquidating the stock to cover costs, the cost of taxes, or they're just liquidating it because they want the cash.
And
But
there was a lot of talk about that with Jeff Bezos selling Amazon shares and stuff like that. Like they were like usually wealthy, they borrow against their assets, and the fact that he sold that Amazon for cash, a lot of
yeah,
people it raised their eyebrows.
yeah, and Jeff Bezos has other priorities. I think he was probably getting liquidating some Amazon stock because he's putting money into his space, his rocket company. I think that's what he was doing. And also just to have probably, get stuff. That's whatever
And
he's
that relates to
trying to
what we had a whole other stream about, like what space exploration and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
materials and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Bezos and Elon Musk and Richard Branson of Virgin Airways, they all have different visions, but the same generic goal that humanity needs to traverse to space. Now, for Bezos and Musk, that's been their kind of dream the whole way. But with Branson, it's more about bringing people to space. So it's just, I think someone's going to eventually capitalize, make it efficient, make it easy and cost effective to get into space, get a lot of crap into space, and then go somewhere and start mining stuff. That's that's what is probably going to happen in the next 50 years. And then someone like Richard Branch is like, okay, now we want to be able to bring people's families, bring people's stuff, have travel, vacation, and of course, like always, it'll be the very wealthy who do it first. Kind of like how it was with explorate like airlines. It was really wealthy and middle and upper class people traveling on airplanes. Until now, it's possible for the everyday person to fly.
You see, speaking of aircrafts, you see what's happening going on with Boeing and like how they're emphasizing production over safety, and how
Yes.
one of the top people at Boeing was actually killed in his truck. You know, they examined his body. They said there was no, this is not a suicide, especially knowing that he was a very happy guy, and you know, it was not a suicide. He was actually killed in his truck, and it goes, that's fishy. You know, right after he dies, all of a sudden we're seeing a lot of stuff that, oh, Boeing was mainly focused on production instead of safety. And that's obviously the case, especially since that man died. But it's
Mhm.
just crazy to see that right after he died.
Yep. And let me tell you something. And anyone who's been an accountant, auditor, worked on Wall Street, and anybody can tell you that people will do some crazy stuff when money is on the line. And
Yes.
they were prioritizing profits over people. And the one guy who could have been a whistleblower, probably someone did try to get rid of him. And
That's a
I'm
true
sure,
whistleblower, too.
oh yeah, and I'm sure, given that stature of that person, you're going to see like an American Greed episode or exclusive documentary on it, and it's going to be brought to light because now there's serious problems with that new Boeing. Even another executive got when he got onto the plane, found out it was that certain Boeing model. He immediately got off the plane, and it was
See,
like,
and
and then that plane had an accident, had to make an emergency landing. So
And
I
I
don't
want to talk more about whistleblowers too, because a lot of people say that, oh, Ryan Garcia, you know, or like someone like Kanye West, like even it's like people call those whistleblowers like, oh, they're against the established. No, a true whistleblower, if you're truly sharing information that's not supposed to be seen in the public, they will come and get you. There is no time to be wasted. If you're sharing information like that can harm a whole business's reputation, they're coming to get you. Like a true whistleblower, they've always called it out, and 9 times out of 10, especially throughout history, whistleblowers have been taken out. You know, people who claim they're whistleblowers or I'm exposing this or that, it's like, are they coming to get you though? Because if they're not, then you're not a whistleblower. Somebody's gonna come get you if you're a whistleblower. Like if I snuck into the FBI headquarters or like the government and I exposed anything that was not supposed to be in the public, they're coming to get me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why usually whistleblowers are put into witness protection programs. Like they're always anonymous. No one will ever say who they are. But I think that Boeing guy, he probably sat down with other people of stature in the company and said, "Hey, look, what we're doing is messed up, and I'm going to spill the beans if you don't fix it." And instead of fixing it, they fixed him. They got rid of him.
Yep, got rid of him. And nobody knows who did it or anything. And that's also interesting because, you know, goes to show in capitalism that, yeah, people do think that money is power and, you know, that is an ego thing and all that. But at the end of the day, you know, it goes to show that you're a high profile, high net worth person. You're a part of a business and your money and your reputation's being set online. You can go and get somebody and 9 times out of 10 you're not going to get caught. There are times where, you know, uh, nefarious stuff like that get exposed. But that goes to show he was a true whistleblower.
Yep. But we can only wait and see. And like always, eventually the hen's got to come to roost. The sun's always going to rise. So eventually, what has happened will eventually come to light, which is kind of funny because Cat Williams has said this is going to be at the beginning of this year on that Shay Shay podcast.
Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, Shannon Sharp. He said this is going to be the year of everybody getting exposed, and it's just kind of interesting how so many things have been happening just with this year. It's just really interesting. But
And
it's
that
also
video got crazy amount of views. Like
oh yeah,
even
it got
even
like
talks of all cultures, like they all
yeah,
talked about that shit. That's all I heard about in January. The Cat
yeah, it was
Williams
like
shit.
50 million views in like a couple days. It was crazy. But also, I want to say is that eventually something like you're gonna have a year like this, but when the economy starts shaking up, that's when all the debauchery that's been hidden by all the profits, all the great business and economy and everything, and you're only talking about good things. Now it's kind of like everyone's focus is like, okay, why am I always seeing all this negative stuff going on? Why is this person doing this? What's happening here? Why are people acting like crazy? It's just that they always were. It's just that now the economy isn't covering it up
It's
anymore.
true
It's
nature.
not an
True
intentional.
nature always shows.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But guys, it's not an intentional cover up. It's just that with good with a good economy, everybody focuses on the positives. So no one's really looking for the bad things. Like we had very few bad articles leading up to the last couple of years. We've had some crazy stories. We had some crazy events of people doing stuff. We had some, but then all of a sudden, as the economy starts to wane and shake about, all of a sudden it's shaking out all these people that we're now paying attention to. Like, oh my God, you're doing that. We had more school incidents. We have more crazy things happening. We, you know, we have you're focused more on theft, retail theft, theft in general, auto theft, scams, Ponzi schemes. They're all just kind of coming out of the woodwork now. But unfortunately for all those guys, it's not like it was 30 years ago. You're going to get hit hard with some of the penalties. And I wouldn't be surprised if some states that took away the death penalty bring it back just because some of these Ponzi schemes are just ridiculous. Like that the one that's going to trial right now with Caesar Pina up in New Jersey. Like he took money away from a family and is now causing divorce and like one of the family members deleted themselves. And it's like you gotta pay for that. Like that fraud caused that. You know,
Yeah.
it's like what it's like. I know it's like it's pretty raw. Like this is fraud. You know, you're over um over marketing investments on a property. You had like 20 people on one property
What
invested in the
was
property.
who was the guy on the Charlemagne show that was doing that real estate scam?
That
Who
was
was that?
that was DJ Envy. Right now,
DJ Envy. Yeah.
it's alleged because he's not how should I put it? He's not really implicated. My thinking is he did a plea deal because the writing's on the wall. But we don't know yet because it's still going to trial. So everything's really allegedly right now, but it doesn't look good.
It doesn't, especially for DJ Envy. Not so much Charlemagne, even though that reputation could rub off on him. But
Hmm.
it's like it's a bad look for DJ Envy, and a lot of people are not going to want to do business with him. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are. It's like a lot of people not doing business with you and cutting you out of networking group. That hurts, not
Yeah,
just emotionally, but it hurts your pockets. It
that
hurts your income.
that it definitely hurts. It definitely hurts. Unfortunately, that's that has is just a symptom of what happened to the culture of not only the black community but the younger communities with social media and influencers and all this stuff. It's to me it's just crazy. I don't know how they got a run away with it, but my thinking is like why does someone who have more money than me need my help with getting
Yeah, this it,
that's my thought.
it's just like FTX. It's like now we have hindsight. We can say, "Oh, well, FTX was obvious," but I mean, it was. It was to an extent if you were aware and you've been around in finance in general for a long time. That yeah, FTX was probably one of the biggest Ponzi
Well,
schemes ever. But
yeah,
they were
but
promising for zero trading fees. It's like, how do you, as a company, how do you operate that way?
that is very risky. If you knew anything about finance, yes, you would. you spot it quickly. But to be fair, FTX, people were depositing money into there, and they were pulling the customers' money out without their knowledge. So it'd be, and believe it or not, folks, that type of scheme happens a lot
Yeah.
in investment brokerages. And it's not necessarily the company. Sometimes it's just the individual broker. Like they'll see someone with like a $3 million net worth in that account, and they'll just pull out like 20 or 30,000.
Isn't that what happened to the guy who was scamming old people via investments and investment products and stuff like that? Who I forgot his name, but he's a big one. He's known.
You mean the Wolf of Wall Street?
Is that the guy you're talking about?
Oh no,
What's his name?
You mean Bernie Madoff?
Bernie Madoff. Yes.
Yes. Well, he was dangerous because he had a legitimate business, which became Nasdaq.
Yeah.
The thing was that he had a private wealth management firm, which big hedge funds would ignore the red flag of they got to keep all the management fees, which normally those management fees are split up, however they agree on. But he was just giving them away. That was it. He was paying them really to send money to him, and then he wasn't investing the money. He was just putting it in his business checking account. So, but that's why his was so dangerous, is because big funds were funneling money into it. So, even though if you had a 401k and the manager put money with Bernie Madoff, the government insured your 401k 100%, the loss. So if
So
you
essentially, that's what SPF was trying to do: be the next Bernie Madoff,
pretty
literally.
much, but the thing was that crypto is not insured like a stock portfolio or a 401k. So that's why he was trying to really push to get there. So it kind of would have washed out, but it didn't really work out that way. It was like you were scamming too fast. Plus, I mean, what venture capitalist gives money to a kid constantly high on shrooms? Like you got to be a
Oh, it
guy.
was more than shrooms. It was methamphetamines.
Oh, it was a ton of stuff, of drugs, but nonetheless, it's like you got 14 kids running a $9 billion financial services company and a 1 billion trading firm, and there's no work being done. They're not even keeping bookkeeping. They're not even having insurance policies on risk management and the business itself. Like they have nothing to fall. It's like you just went into a room. They're all just having an orgy, getting high, and drinking.
Yeah, that was FTX, literally.
That was literally FTX down in the Bahamas, and then they come here and they say, "Hey, well, I'm living the frugal billionaire lifestyle." Meanwhile, he's shacked up in a $40 million penthouse, doing all types of weird stuff. But unfortunately, not many people think, because they know how to placate to the right sensibilities to pull the right people. So you guys just got to be careful about that. And I want to kind of say that you know, given those schemes, like there's going to be a lot of financial schemes that come to light. So just guys be prepared, as because the money's running dry, people aren't investing anymore. People want cash, people want all sorts of stuff, and they're just there's no money. There's really no money left to cover the astronomical demand that the Ponzi scheme or real estate schemes or whatever scheme they're running has to fill. They just run out, and that's how they're going to get caught. So just keep that in mind as you guys are out there and you're looking for investment opportunities.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I'm gonna have to cut this a little short there for you, because for you guys, because I do see I have to make some calls. But hey, we appreciate you guys staying here. We had quite a few people coming in and out. definitely shout out to Crypto Dream and go subscribe to his channel, Crypto Dream on YouTube. I'm gonna see if I can pull that pull his stream his link up so I can put that in there for you guys. Where are you? There you are. All right. And his tag handle is Crypto Dream for Us on YouTube. I'm gonna put that right in the chat for you guys. So subscribe to his channel and help him grow. He's been with us since pretty much day one. So really appreciate you, and I hope you wish you the best on that job hunt journey. And he's definitely a hardworking guy. So and he definitely has supported us in every way. So definitely go support his channel because he does have a completely different viewpoint on a lot of the things that Cody and I talk about. And it's always good to have someone who's like Crypto Dream, who's participating as part of the average American in there trying to live their American dream. Definitely, he has a good take and a refreshing take because it's not all about glitz and glam, yachts and exotics. Really a lot of building wealth is just stress and balance sheets and figuring out how to not spend out as much money as you make. But with that said, guys, I think we're gonna call it quits. But thank you for this journey. Thank you for being in here. We really appreciate you guys joining in. Hopefully, you guys like, subscribe, and follow us. As always, the channel is supported by you guys. So you guys are basically sponsoring your channel by giving us all your support by liking, subscribing our content. So really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great evening and spend some time with family members. Life ain't always about money and work. So don't forget to cherish your family and friends, especially the ones that are doing well with you guys. So really appreciate your support, and we will see you guys tomorrow morning. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening, and stay safe out there.